What's up, Lorcana Players? Havry here, and, yeah, sorry, I've missed basically half the set revealed at this point, but between stuff going on in my personal life and them revealing cards way too quickly, I wasn't really able to keep up like I thought I'd be able to. But regardless, I have been keeping up with the new reveals, and I thought it'd be fun to give my opinion on the top 10 strongest cards we've seen from this set. This list will probably become outdated pretty quickly as the set's being released in about a week, but either way, I want an excuse to talk about some of the cards I've missed, and to make up for my absence, tomorrow after this video goes live, I'm going to be releasing a top 10 weakest cards video. So look forward to that. And as a friendly reminder before we get started, this is all just my opinion and view on things. It's not fact, nor do I intend to claim it as such. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, I lied. Before we actually dive in, I have to give an honorable mention to a certain card because I don't think I'll find an excuse to talk about it anywhere else. I'm of course talking about not only the strongest card in Rise of the Floodborn, but the strongest card in the entire game, Goofy, Night for a Day. I mean, Jesus Christ, just look at this absolute beast. Goofy is done goofing around, he will slam your shit in. Not only can this card destroy any card in the game with ease, but also survive to fight another day. Maleficent? A joke. Maui? Absolute cakewalk. Nobody to swing your massive brood at? No problem. I'll just happily quest for 1/5 of the amount that I need to win. In a perfect world, when you throw this unit on the board, your opponent will be quivering in fear at the sight of your 10/10 monster. Don't worry about that Let It Go or Dragonfire in their hand. They're likely way too scared to even think about playing it, so you're probably fine. Man, what a funny card. Kicking off the list at number 10, we actually have two cards for an archetype with a lot of potential, Nick Wilde and Popsicle. Let's start out with Popsicle first. Popsicle is a 1-ink item that has two effects. Its first effect, Jumbo Pop, is when you play this card you may draw a card, and its second effect is banish this item, remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. Nick Wilde is a 4-ink 2/4 that quests for 2, and when you play this character, you may return an item card named Popsicle from your discard to your hand. The Sapphire item deck has always been a bit of a gimmick that doesn't actually perform all that well. The main reason for this is because a lot of the Sapphire items are just really bad for a variety of reasons. Sure, you could still buff your Tamatoas and cycle through cards with Maurice, but the actual items you were playing just weren't anything special. I can see why this is, because if the item effects were too powerful, there would be a bit of a balancing issue considering the Sapphire character cards that have the item support are already pretty strong. However, this is where this brand new combo shines. It already lets you go even in card advantage just for playing it, and also lets you choose when to heal one of your characters instead of Coconut Basket, which only lets you heal when a certain condition is met. Combo this with Nick Wilde and you have a way to cycle up to 8 of these puppies throughout the game. The dream is that you take these two combos with Ariel, allowing you to continuously ready her as long as you have Popsicles to play. Even besides the effect, Nick can hold his own on the board, boasting solid health and a solid 2 lore. I think that this combo is just what the deck needed in order to see competitive play. Next up at number 9 we have Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, which I will not be referring to by name for the remainder of this segment. This card is a 3-ink uninkable song. Return chosen character of yours to your hand to play another character with the same cost or less for free. This card really excites me just because its potential really is limitless. You get to combo this effect with so many different types of cards that I can imagine it being ran in a large variety of decks. You could bounce back your Lucifer, for example, allowing you to use its effect later and bring out a much more powerful 5-cost card. You could bounce back your severely damaged character and replace him with a brand new ready-to-go guy. You could bounce back an inkable weak monster that just so happened to survive for a while, and if you're in need of ink, and you could bring out an uninkable character for free. I could keep going, but I'm sure you can see my point by now. I think where this card really shines is in its discard Emerald decks, allowing you to put even more pressure on your opponent by activating discard effects twice. Outside of that though, I think it'll just generally be a solid staple in a lot of Emerald decks, as you could use its effect for all sorts of when you play this character cards. Definitely a game changer. For number 8 we got Mufasa, Betrayed Leader. Mufasa is a 5-ink 3/3 that quests for 2. When this character is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a character card, you may play that character for free and they enter play exerted. Otherwise, put it on the top of your deck. I decided to put this slightly higher than the card before it simply because while the one above it guarantees you a brand new card at the same cost, Mufasa has the potential to bring out any cost card in the game. Mufasa goes out, but what comes back in is entirely luck dependent. The only real way to influence the card you get, slightly from what I've found, is with Ursula's Cauldron. It's not a ton of influence, but hey, it's something. I don't know, you could definitely argue that Mufasa is worse, but in my opinion, bringing out an 8 cost card for free on turn 5 is kind of a game winner in a lot of scenarios. And even if you bring out a card that's lower cost than Mufasa, it's still nice to bring out something to keep your board presence up. Obviously, the worst case scenarios where the top card of your deck is an action or an item will happen, and it'll suck, but I just think that this card will birth some nutty combos in the future. Keep an eye out for cards that let you put cards on top of your deck. Number 7 might not look like much, but let me explain. Nothing to Hide is kind of insane. All it is a 1 cost action that reads, each opponent reveals their hand, draw a card. This card has a develop your brain effect where it basically reduces the amount of cards you have in your deck by being a low cost card that you can ink at any time and also play at any time, since it allows you to immediately draw a card. While this trait is really strong on its own, it's the first part of the card that really shoots this card up to insane territory for me. Letting you see your opponent's entire hand for basically no cost up to 4 times is absolutely incredible. You can't have better knowledge on your opponent than knowing what's in their hand, and even if you don't want to use this effect 4 times, you can just ink it or just play it to draw yourself a card. It has a decent amount of flexibility for such a strong effect. Not much more to say beyond that, just an all around amazing card in my opinion. Coming up at number 6, we've got a card I actually already talked about, Cogsworth. To catch you up in case you haven't seen my other video on the card, Cogsworth is a 5 ink 2/5 with Shift 3, Ward, and your other characters gain Resist +1. I'll be the first to admit this might be a bit biased for me because Aurora Dreaming Guardian is my favorite card in the game, but Cogsworth as a package is just really exciting to me. You got the ward, you got the solid stats, you got the nice shift cost, and of course you got the huge passive effect that makes all of your cards tankier. I think this card will allow you to counter a lot of aggro decks, as that's where a slow color like Sapphire really struggles. On top of that, I also think it'll give you an advantage in Sapphire Steel mirror matchups, which is the deck I personally play. I can definitely see a world where this card is too slow to actually be played, but I think if the meta shifts to a more aggression removal heavy environment, Cogsworth will fit right at home as a staple. Of course, the opposite is also true, where if the meta is really quest focused, this card probably won't see much play. But either way, I have high hopes for this card, and I'm going to test it out in a variety of decks personally. To start out our top 5, here's another card I've talked about before, Cinderella Stonehearted. As a reminder, Cinderella is a 7 ink 5/5 that quests for 3, shift 5, resist 2, and whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters this turn. This card really is just a whole package, like my god, good stats, high lore, good shift, resist +2, and a game-changing ability. I've already explained in depth on why I think this card is so good, but since my initial look at the card, it's only gotten better with the reveal of 2 brand new cheap steel songs, as it's way easier to invoke its effect. I really don't have much else to say on the matter, it's just an absolute powerhouse of a card that I'm more than confident will be played a lot. Okay, I'm going to be transparent with these next 4. If there was one color that I would have to say is the big winner of Rise of the Floodborn, as of right now, it's definitely Emerald. By far did this color have the best cards that I've seen, and there isn't a doubt in my mind that it will dominate the meta for some time. The first card that makes me think so is number 4 on this list, and it's the Relentless Beast. The Relentless Beast is a 6 ink 4/5 that quests for 2, and its effect simply reads, whenever an opposing character is damaged, you may ready this character. So I feel like I say this a lot when it comes to saying if a card is good or not, but really take a second and think of the potential of this card. You could wipe a whole board as long as you have a way to deal damage, which can come in a variety of ways. I think the best way this card will be utilized is in an Emerald Steel deck, which has plenty of ways to deal damage to your opponent's cards. If you want to take things a bit slower, you could always use this in an Emerald Sapphire deck that protects your beast with things like resist and healing items. I also just want to point out that this card easily has the best reveal in the entire game's history. In case you don't know the backstory, at a convention in Germany, lead game designer Steve Warner was playing against patrons who stopped by the booth. During one of the matches, he proceeded to just drop this beast on the board when it's never been seen before. That's like some Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh shit, and I absolutely love it. I'm not sure how to end this segment, but I'm going to ask if we can call plays where the beast attacks a bunch in one turn going beast mode. Thanks for listening. Our next 3 cards all follow the same general archetype, and I think it'll be one of the strongest decks, if not the strongest deck in the game when it's fully available. And starting that list out at number 3, we've got Prince John. Prince John is an uninkable 3-cost 1/2 that quests for 2, he has Ward, and whenever your opponent discards 1 or more cards, you may draw a card for each card discarded. So, when it comes to discarding cards in Lorcana, you can at least find solace in the fact that your opponent had to use resources in order for that to happen. Well, when Prince John is on the board, he doesn't give a damn about that, and will actively reward your opponent even more for putting you further and further behind. This is the point in the list where I think we are getting into unfair territory, and Prince John is a case where I don't think this effect should be in the game, honestly. Considering how easy it is for Emerald to make you discard cards, it's not like this effect would be hard to proc or anything. It's not even the worst of it for me. I'd be content with this card's existence if you could at least fire the cannons, but you can't. It has Ward. Why? Why does this card have Ward? With an effect this powerful, you shouldn't be able to be so safe while using it. I could maybe, just maybe, forgive this card if it had only 1 health, but nope, it has 2. Which isn't a lot, mind you, but it's still safe enough from things like Big Tinkerbell. This card may seem broken, and that's because it is, but this is only the start of Emerald's upcoming dominance. Stealing the silver medal is the man himself, Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan. Flynn Rider is an uninkable 4-cost 2/3 that quests for 4, Shift 2, it has evasive, and this character gains -1 lore for each card in your opponent's hand. Here we have what I think will be Emerald's big game winner. As I stated before, it's not that hard to make your opponent discard cards from their hand, allowing you to easily get a higher lore count for your Flynn to quest with. I think despite this character's low shift count, I think where it'll really shine is the late game, where your opponent typically won't have many cards to work with at that point anyways, unless they're a specific color with good card draw. The most frustrating part about this card is another Prince John case, where it has a lot of really good stuff going for it already, but they give it a safety net anyways. Like, why does this card have evasive of all things? You already potentially have a 2-ink 2/3 questing for 4, but you felt like that wasn't good enough? That you felt like it really needed that protection? Honestly, even if you're able to quest for 3 with this guy, it isn't too bad, and if you shift it out early, 2 is honestly perfectly acceptable. I don't know, unless card draw becomes insanely common with this next set, I think Flynn will have a smooth ride to the top. But you know what they say, a king isn't complete without his queen, and that's where the final piece of the puzzle comes in. For the number 1 most powerful card in Rise of the Floodborn, in my opinion, it's not even a contest. Bell Hidden Archer remains as the scariest threat that this game has ever seen in my opinion. This card is so broken that I even made an entire video on just her alone. But to recap, Bell Hidden Archer is an uninkable 5-cost 3/3 that quests for 3, shift 3, and its effect, whenever this character is challenged, the challenging player must discard all cards in their hand. I feel like at the time that I posted that video, it may have been a little too early to say this card was outright broken, but I feel as though as more cards have gotten revealed, I've only become more validated in my opinion. If all your hope wasn't shattered already between Prince John keeping your opponent up in card advantage and while you're getting rid of on your own cards, Flynn Rider questing for huge numbers and a large variety of other suffocating Emerald cards, here comes Bell fucking Hidden Archer to completely ruin any chance you had of coming back. I've already gone on in great length on the strengths of this card, but to briefly summarize, this card quests for huge amounts, has solid stats, and if you dare even think about challenging it, whole hand goes bye-bye. I strongly recommend checking out that video for a more detailed dive on this card, but all I'll say is I think this will be the first card in the game's history to get banned. I just can't believe it got printed this way. And that's my list. I know I'm probably going to be wrong on a good bit of this, but that's the fun of speculation, right? What's your personal pick for the strongest card revealed so far? I'm really looking forward to reading your responses in the comments below. As promised, tomorrow I will be dropping my top 10 weakest cards video, so I hope you guys look forward to that. Until then, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.